Hello everyone, it's Helena Bird, and today I'm going to show you how I made some wonderful collage fodder using an old lipstick. Now this is one of those episodes where I have re-edited and republished one of my old videos because when I first came to YouTube, and those of you who've watched a few of the other videos will know, I wasn't great at video editing. I did, however, make some really wonderful things when I first started YouTube, and it seems such a shame for all that knowledge to be lost just because my editing skills in video weren't great. So I've gone back to some of those early videos and I've taken them down and I've re-edited and revoiced them. And here we are looking at some wonderful collage fodder that I made just using old lipstick. I am going to go back to this technique because it created some of my favourite collage fodder that I've ever made. And somebody who watched the whole original video, God bless them, I don't know how they sat through it, posted a comment recently asking, oh, did any of this lipstick come off the paper? And will it come off the paper? And my answer to that just from the outset is that I think it will depend on what kind of lipstick you use. This was an old chalky lipstick that had been sitting in a drawer for a long time. And I also used some lip gloss, and neither the lip gloss nor the lipstick came off the paper, but I can't guarantee that whatever products you're using will have the same effect. So it is worth doing some experimentation before you launch into a big project. So the first kind of collage fodder I made was by getting some lipstick in a palette. And I say palette, it was an old piece of food packaging because I didn't want to ruin a perfectly good palette with waxy lipstick. And I got a paintbrush and I smushed it down really hard into the paper. I would not use your favourite paintbrush for this. Use old paintbrushes. They're at the end of their life because, again, lipstick is waxy. It's difficult to get out of the bristles. You don't want to be using stuff that you spent a lot of money on. I smushed the paintbrush down. Yes, smushed is a technical term. And I went in circles all around the paper. And it created this kind of wonderful celestial effect, which I don't think I've actually managed to recreate with other paintings that I've done when I've been making collage fodder. There's something about the sort of waxy consistency of lipstick that lends itself to this kind of texture. Here you will see me in slow motion scrunching up a piece of paper just to make it really clear how much scrunching I did for this second technique. And then I'm going to unfold the paper and I will show you one that I did before where I have gone over all the crease lines with the lipstick, and it just has this wonderful, almost veiny, marbled effect. And it's simply a matter of scrunching the paper and painting over it with the lipstick. Again, I don't really find that paint gives me the same effect. It gives me a different effect that is also interesting. But there was something really cool about the texture of these papers. And I guess it's the thickness of the lipstick that creates that effect. This is the lip gloss, and I'm using the same technique as the lipstick in the first section of paper that I made. Wanted to see if lip gloss created a slightly different effect, and it did. It did create a slightly more subtle effect with the spirals, and I liked that too. Again, it had this almost celestial feel to it. And this is just getting some lipstick on an old paintbrush and smushing it round in circles. I then got the lip liner out and decided to try and make some more precise marks. That had limited success, I would say. I liked the marks that it made, but they were a lot more subtle than the lipstick and the lip gloss. So just to be aware that it would probably depend on the shade you were using, but I had quite nude shades and the effect was quite subtle. I then decided to just do some simple pinstripes with the lipstick. That also came out really well. I smushed it down with the paintbrush just to really seal it into the paper. I have no idea if that was really sealing it into the paper, but I was giving it my best shot, and indeed it did not come off the paper after I had done this. So I do recommend, if you've put kind of a light waxy layer on, to go in and kind of paint it into the paper with the paintbrush. Then going in with the lip gloss and also adding to that pattern. It's quite amazing, the patterns that you can make with mere lipstick and lip gloss that's left over sitting in your drawer. I actually used these in autumnal collage, and I will show you an example of that at the end of the video. it is really interesting how just using one of these pieces as a kind of springboard for the palette then creates this wonderful collage. So I'll show you how I did that. Next thing I went to was stencils, and I have quite a few different stencils in my stash. I have to say they're quite underused. I don't use them a lot, but I do like having them for the occasions on which I do want to use a stencil. And this is one of my favourite techniques with the lipstick, the use of the stencil. It really did come out so much better than most of the paint that I've used with stencils. It had an ink-like quality to it, only I would say more vibrant. So I really enjoyed using the lipstick on that, but I did, you will notice, take the care after I'd used the stencil to rub the lipstick off with a sponge because I didn't want it staining my stencil. And I think the consistency of it, you don't necessarily want that sitting on your stencil. I went in with various different designs with the stencil and various different colours, and all of this fodder, which is unusual for me, did get used up in various autumnal collages. I think part of it was the palette is something that I would often use, but also the textures of the papers were just so beautiful that I really wanted to use them. I, reached for them at every opportunity. And I think most of the journals that I had with those in have been given away as gifts, but I have kept one or two pieces. In fact, it's the ones that I made in the video, and I kept them for sentimental value of making the video and also for discovering this new technique with the lipsticks that new to me. I'm sure other people have done it. And just to remind myself of how cool it looks. So watching this video through again was a little bit of a treat because it reminded me of the fact that this actually does work very well. And the idea that you might not even have to buy paints or inks, but just look in an old drawer and find an old lipstick to use in your art. I love that idea because it's putting something to use that's sitting there rotting in a drawer. And also because it means that you don't have to spend money on your art. You can get some old packaging paper, you can get some old lipstick, and you've got fodder for your junk journal. Which is really the spirit of junk journaling, isn't it? Even though some of us like to spend money on our craft from time to time. The last section of this video is me making a couple of postcards. I cut up this old greetings card about junk food that I had no interest in using at all. I think it had been given to me in case I could use it in my crafts, and turns out I couldn't really, except as a substrate. So I started by gluing down some of the collage pieces I'd made with the lipstick, and that was my starting point for the palette for these postcards. So I was looking for things in the kind of maroon, plum range, very autumnal colours. And here we've got a mix of kind of old book page, which is kind of the brown element, and some old wallpaper and a few scrap pieces of paper that I had sitting in my scrap box. And that is all blended in with the collage paper. I use a blend of the stencils and also the brush swirls that I made, and then I add some more layers on top of that in the same colour palette. These are actually some of my favourite postcards that I've ever made, and I made them right at the beginning of starting the channel. And it is because of those lipstick pieces that not only I think pop off the page, but do also make me smile because I know that I used something that would otherwise have been thrown out to create art. And when I look at all the different textures on these postcards, on the base of them, I'm not surprised they're amongst my favourites because they're probably amongst the most varied textures that I've ever put on a postcard since I started the channel. I then go through and put in some embellishments that are in the same palette. Everything from stamps, stickers, labels. I go to town with this because I really enjoy sticking things down. There's no other real reason for it. It's just enjoyable. And as it turns out, when things are enjoyable, they often become lovely pieces of art for your journal. So it is worth enjoying yourself and just seeing what brings you pleasure to glue it down. Whilst I'm finishing up this collage, I will just take a moment to tell you about the free resources that are available via my Substack link below. For those of you who have not watched the channel before, there is a free printable ebook available full of printables that are made from my own art designs. They are royalty free and you can use them in any project you want. So it is worth having a look at that Substack. I also send out free weekly digital postcards that feature my artwork and photography and include an inspiring or thought-provoking message in the text. A substantial number of people who watch this channel have come over to join me there on Substack and learn more about me and my art, and me more about them and their art. So it is a wonderful community and it is worth hopping over. It wouldn't be a postcard without a few ink stamps on it, would it? I went through a phase of being really obsessed with ink stamps and I realised that I haven't used them for quite a while in my craft. It's another reason why revisiting these old videos is so useful. You think, oh yeah, my ink stamp stage, and realise that maybe it's time to bring that back. There are a few things that I'm obsessed with in junk journaling and have remained obsessed with. One of them is making postcards, one of them is making tags, and the other thing is ink stamps, although I've got rather out the habit of that. And I would love to know if you've got any junk journal obsessions. And if you have any ink stamps, which shapes are your favourites? I think mine is probably the postage mark, the little circular one. And I think I have a few like that. So this is a little bit of a slow motion close-up of the postcards that I made. And I can see the big difference that that collage fodder that I made makes to this overall composition. It set the whole tone for the palette. And I think also the kind of thick texture of it also made me think about earthy things, which is why I went for mushrooms and such as the embellishments. So sometimes a piece of collage fodder isn't just a little bit of paper that you mix into the background. It can set the whole tone of a piece of work, be it a postcard, a tag, or even a abstract composition, or, can set that whole tone. So it is worth thinking about that when you're making your collage pieces. What tones and shades and palettes do you like to work in? If you're making collage fodder outside of that, how likely are you to use the finished result? I really hope this video has been helpful and useful to you. It's been really interesting for me to revisit these early creations on my channel that I'm still really proud of. And I hope that now that I've got this information to you in 15 minutes or less, you might go out and create some fodder for yourself using old lipsticks or lip glosses. Just as I say, trial them first to see that they do stick to the paper and don't just rub off. Thanks so much for watching this video today. There'll be another video along soon. Until then, take care and I'll see you next time.